Right. Welcome, everyone. Bienvenidos a todos. We're going to get started in a few minutes.
Buenas tardes a todo mundo. Buenas
Hola
tardes.
Manuela, buenas tardes. Vamos
Aquí
a empezar
presente
en unos
con ustedes.
minutos.
Ok,
Gracias.
ándele. Aquí estoy.
Welcome, everyone. Get started in a few minutes. Yeah, let me check on that, Jenny. 1 second. All right. I think you were meaning that you're not able to, not that you're not technically able to. Yeah, got it. All right. Welcome, everyone. Bienvenidos a todos. We'll get started in just a minute.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good
Hola
afternoon.
Irma, good afternoon, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Vamos a comenzar en unos minutos.
Ok, aquí estoy, ok.
Claro que sí.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Yes. All right, Domingo, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes a todos. I'm going to provide instructions for interpretation services. Voy a dar instrucciones para acceder a los servicios de interpretación. Voy a dar este mensaje primero en inglés y enseguida en español. If you are joining from your tablet or iPad, if you could please locate the 3 dots at the bottom of your screen, and then as you click on those, you can select language interpretation from the drop-down menu. And then from there, you can select English or Spanish. If your primary language is English, then you can select English and you will be receiving interpretation from our Spanish conversations. If you're joining from your computer, you can locate the interpretation icon in the form of a globe on your screen. And then from there, you can just choose English or Spanish. And then lastly, if you're joining by smartphone, same thing as with an iPad, you can just locate your menu in the 3 dots icon and then choose language interpretation. And then from there, you can choose English. I'm going to repeat these instructions in Spanish now. Buenas tardes, si nos están acompañando a través de su tableta o iPad, pueden localizar el menú con los 3 puntos y una vez que hagan clic ahí, pueden elegir Language Interpretation o interpretación del lenguaje del menú y enseguida el idioma de su preferencia, ya sea inglés o español. Si primordialmente hablan español, entonces pueden elegir español. Si nos acompañan desde su computadora, pueden localizar el icono con forma de globo para interpretación y de ahí pueden seleccionar su idioma de preferencia, inglés o español. Finalmente, si nos están acompañando a través de su teléfono inteligente o smartphone, pueden localizar el menú con el icono de 3 puntos y de ahí pueden hacer clic en Language Interpretation o interpretación del lenguaje y elegir el idioma de su preferencia. En este momento les pedimos que elijan el idioma de su preferencia y vamos a iniciar la reunión. Gracias. All right, so with that, I'll kick it back to you, Monique.
Yeah, thank you so much, Domingo, and welcome everyone. Great to see you all here today. Today we're going to have a lot of time for us to work in groups and start to further develop strategies for the community emissions reduction plan itself. So today I wanted to go over the agenda itself. The first item on the agenda, after we're able to take attendance in a few, is consideration of a letter of opposition to AB 1372. We introduced you all to this legislation last month, and it was a request of a CSC member to consider a letter of opposition. So this will need to go before a vote before the CSC committee. And Alejandro of Casa Familiar will be sharing more information about this and also the letter as well. Then we're going to go into a discussion regarding the statewide SERP strategies presentation that the folks at CARB, sorry, I'm just letting people in here, that the folks at CARB developed for us all. So Liliana, who's part of these meetings on a monthly basis, unfortunately, she's not able to be here today, but we have other folks at CARB here today. If there's any questions about that pre-recorded presentation, we have some folks at CARB that are able to answer any of those kind of follow-up questions that folks may have. Also, we'll have some time for discussion regarding a pre-recorded presentation by Sandag and Caltrans. And I believe Zach is here from Sandag, who'd be able to answer any question from that pre-recorded presentation as well. And I just want to highlight on and these presentations were shared with you all, I believe, late last week on Friday, and then shared again with you all yesterday as well. But if you have not had a chance to watch these presentations, I did want to turn your attention. I'm going to see if I can pop this on my screen here. Can everybody see my screen okay? I think so. Okay, great. So awesome. If you weren't able to watch those presentations already, you're going to see them right here for today's date, and you can click on the links to watch the presentation. So here's the presentation from CARB, and then here's the presentation from Sandag and Caltrans. You can also watch them again, but this is where we're keeping that information as well for you all, in case you did not have a chance to present. So I did get a question, will the Spanish speakers be able to listen to the pre-recorded presentations? Absolutely. The presentations either are in both English or Spanish, or have Spanish subtitles in them as well. Great. Do folks have any questions on that? All righty. So again, this was kind of an experiment for us all. You all suggested last month that, really being able to use this time for subcommittee time. And so having presentations be pre-recorded so that folks can watch or listen to that in advance, so that we could use more of this time together on a monthly basis for actually working together and co-developing those strategies and co-developing the different elements of the SERP. So it's a bit of an experiment for us all. Before I start to jump into today's agenda, I want to just kind of do a brief check-in to see who is here. Just letting people in as well as they come in. So just say here if you're here or presente, and I'll just make sure that you're checked off. Manuela?
Presente.
All right. Olga?
Present.
Wendy?
Presente.
All right. Rudy?
Yes.
All right. Juan Miguel? All right. Jason? Okay. Mariano?
Present.
Alejandro?
Present.
Okay. Stan?
Monique, did you say Stan?
Stan,
Oh.
good to see you.
Right here.
All right. Leslie?
Here.
All right. Jenny? Jenny? I think I saw her earlier. She may have hopped off. Diane? Shelby? Okay. Irma?
Here.
Right.
Present.
Chris?
Present.
Right. Yanette? Okay. Maria?
Presente.
Okay. Marie? Okay. Mauricio? Okay. Guadalupe? Marisela? Marisela? I think I see you here. I'm gonna go ahead and mark you off. Yeah.
Presente.
Perfecto, gracias.
Here.
David Flores. I think I just saw you log on. I'm gonna mark you present. Trinidad. Okay. Lee. Here. All right. Elsa.
Presente.
Okay. Maritza. Okay. Zach.
Here, presente, thank you.
All right. And Mariela.
Presente.
All right, great. Okay, and then if others come in, I'll keep an eye out as well. All right, thank you all. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Alejandro to lead us in a discussion about AB 1372, and then also potentially taking action. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and turn it over to you, Alejandro.
Hey everybody, good afternoon. Yeah, so I think we mentioned we talked about a little last session, right, Monique, where we introduced that this bill it's being opposed by the APCD as well, but it's basically a bill that Assembly Member David Alvarez introduced to the board, and it's specifically there you go. It's to prohibit the enforcement of regulations requiring zero emission vehicles on heavy duty trucks. And yeah, I don't know if do we want to read that, Monique, or should we just like kind of summarize it a little?
I think summarizing it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so basically it's prohibiting CARB, the California Air Resources Board, from enforcing regulations requiring purchase of like zero emission heavy duty trucks that are operating with the land port of entry in the California-Mexico border, so on the US-Mexico border. which I think goes against what this group is trying to accomplish, right? We're hoping to transition out of diesel vehicles and into cleaner energy products. So I don't know how you want to do this, Monique. Sorry, I really didn't prepare anything at all. I'm just wondering how we want to navigate this.
Yeah, no, thanks for summarizing that for us. I know that you had shared with us, which we emailed out to the group, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can put this in the chat box, but essentially shared with us a draft letter that you wanted folks to take into consideration to sign on to as the International Border Committee. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in the chat box. Let me see.
Right. So that draft letter, you know, it's a draft. If I think this discussion can lead to some changes that we want to see within the letter, that's fine. But I think that the bill, the position this board this committee should take is to oppose the bill, since it is undermining the goals of this group and would impact us directly as a border community.
Yeah, maybe if we just start by hearing from folks in terms of their thoughts on this piece of legislation. And then if action wants to be taken, then a member of the committee can vote, make a motion to have, move forward this letter. So support the letter of opposition, and then we'll have a second, and then we can then do a roll call vote if that's the direction that folks want to go. But maybe first opening it up to hear folks' perspective on the legislation, and if anyone's inclined, can make a motion to support the letter as is, or even make some modifications, and then we'll need a second, and then we could do a roll call vote. But yeah, I'd love to hear folks' thoughts. Yes, Leslie.
Oh, I was just gonna say maybe it would be a good idea just to share on the screen the letter itself,
Yep.
So people could see the reasonings we have to oppose it.
Yes, let me go ahead and pull that up here. And let me make it a little bit larger. 1 second here. Oops.
And I believe Monique also included the link to the letter in Spanish on the chat. So
I did.
For folks who want to see this in Spanish, there's a link in the chat where you can see it in Spanish.
And I could toggle in between both as well. But I think this is the main part that kind of summarizes the 4 points that you all make in it. Here's the 4 parts in Spanish, but if you want to navigate the letter yourself, you can. Let's go to Jose, and then we can go to Chris.
My question is more on the logistics of the letter. Since Caltrans is a state agency, we usually cannot like support or oppose a particular bill. Who's going to sign the letter, and will each agency or organization will be signing the letter by like on their organization's behalf, or this is going to be for the whole committee, and therefore it means that every agency and organization that is represented by the stakeholder committee is supporting this letter?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the way that this has been done before in other CSC areas, typically a public agency will usually abstain from voting, and then the letter, if gathered enough votes, then the letter goes out as a signed kind of CSC letter, but with the understanding that, logistically speaking, like you mentioned, Jose, that there was some abstentions from folks who are associated with the various public agencies. That's what we've seen in other communities as well. Domingo, I don't know if you want to add more to that as well.
Yeah, and that's also going to be reflected on the records for this meeting, both video and written. So so that's how we document those the vote for the letter, specifically, taking into account the situation of the public agencies present.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, so Chris Roberts with TruckNet, the largest truck stop in San Diego, located at the commercial crossing between Mexico and the United States. The AB 1372 as written, I oppose, like everyone stated here, it really, undermines what we're working towards. But I'm sympathetic towards the issue that I think is being targeted by this bill, and that's what do we do for our binational transportation companies that aren't going to see charging infrastructure or hydrogen infrastructure in Mexico for a very, very long time. Those companies play a critical role in bringing in raw materials from the Port of Long Beach for manufacturing in Tijuana and then back in to the United States. And the zero emission rules that we're pursuing, they're doable, but they're hard. For example, our truck stop, we're the first truck stop in all of California to offer retail level 3 chargers for Class A trucks. The first, like in Otay Mesa, we are the first. So we've got a long way to go. Maybe being sympathetic to that fact and offering a pathway for those clients, maybe with like renewable natural gas, like all those, because there's gas dispensing is a thing in Mexico, and they actually do have lots of sources of renewable natural gas from Lala Farms. Lala Farms is a big provider of renewable natural gas. Maybe for those clients that have that specific issue, they could go to natural gas and still fall within compliance, because I think shutting them out completely would be a large economic blow to our community.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that, Chris. I'm going to go to Domingo. I see your hand up.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. Thank you for that comment, Chris. I just wanted to also share, just for the record, that APCD submitted a letter of oppose unless amended. We were hoping to see similar measures, Chris, in terms of something that could still support us moving towards the goal of zero emissions. That was not, the current bill as proposed is basically, making it harder for us to move towards that goal. What we would hope to see is more support for additional infrastructure that would make it possible. So if the bill were to be revised in a way that a path forward could be supported like that, then we would be in support of it. Unfortunately, we've been following the bill, and unfortunately that revision we haven't seen anything like that, and we don't have any indication of something like that coming. But just wanted to share for everybody's background where APCD stands and where our board directed us to go with it.
Thanks for sharing that, Domingo. Jose, do you have an additional question or comment?
No, I'm sorry. I'll lower my hand.
No worries. Let's go to Alejandro.
Yeah, I think the bill right now as written, it does seem to undermine everything we're working towards too, but also basically putting profits in front of anything else, right? Like it seems like it's a loophole for corporations to not work towards that goal. So I do agree that we could like include some wording of unless amended in there. But I think the bill as is has like no saving. It feels like a loophole for corporations too.
Yeah, agreed. As is, it says, hey, we're exempt. We don't have to do anything for this law, but maybe an amendment where like steps can be made to clean up our air.
Right.
Yeah, let's go to David.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I wanted just to mention that as we speak, Chairwoman Supervisor Nora Vargas is in Mexico City at the California-Mexico 2030 Summit, Alianza Mexico. And she is there together with leaders from both sides, from California, from Baja California, and from Mexico, and they are continuing to advance decisions as well as further strategies on how to bring clean fuels and uplift the need for doing this in the San Diego, Tijuana, or California, Baja California border. So that work is active, it's happening. There are different representatives from both sides of the border that are in charge or tasked with fuels, and it seems to be very promising. I just wanted to mention that because I think that is work that all our state agencies, including Caltrans and Sandag, are continuing to advance.
Thank you so much for sharing that, David. Let's go to Magdalena.
Hola, buenas tardes a todos. Ando un poquito mal, me oigo rara, pero esta iniciativa de David Álvarez, entiendo que lo que yo veo es que si los transportistas del lado mexicano no tienen las ventajas ni los recursos para competir con los transportistas de este lado, bueno, yo estoy ahora en San Diego, en el lado americano, pero también es cierto que es bien poco lo que entonces estos años, desde que me acuerdo, lo que se ha podido avanzar con la calidad de aire en la frontera. Es un monstruo muy difícil de combatir, la contaminación de los puertos fronterizos. Y las otras iniciativas del lado mexicano no están avanzando, no tienen mucho éxito en cambiar o mitigar la contaminación. Entonces, cambiar, o sea, lograr que se exija cero emisiones en el transporte, ayuda a empujar a que el gobierno mexicano establezca otros programas de apoyo para la industria, bueno, en este caso para los transportistas, y si no avanzamos en esto, nunca vamos a empezar a cambiar las cosas en el lado mexicano con respecto a las emisiones de diésel. Me parece que esa iniciativa de David Álvarez ya no tiene sentido en este tiempo. Tenemos que avanzar hacia cero emisiones.
Magdalena, I really appreciate that perspective as well. I know that this is listed as an action item, so I'm not sure if anyone wants to move forward, maybe a motion. Also, the motion could include some of the elements of this conversation today to modify the letter as well. Alejandro, I do see your hand up.
I'm not sure if I can motion like an action item that I brought myself.
You're able to, as a CSC member.
So could I motion to send a letter of opposition for the bill as it's written, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So your motion, just to clarify, is a yes vote to your motion, is to submit a letter of opposition to AB 1372, and then include the language in the letter itself as it's currently written, just to allow room and space if there's modifications that meet this group's requirements, that can maybe change later on. Is that kind of the intent of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Can I make a quick clarification for your consideration, Alejandro, in your motion? Because the way we would submit this would be through the legislature's portal, and the three options there are support, oppose, or oppose unless amended. So I think that what you're trying to accomplish would be through an oppose unless amended. And so you would have to include in the letter maybe like a sentence or two about, we're opposing this bill unless amended to reflect XYZ, right? And so that way we can submit the letter without option of oppose the bill unless amended, and then it will be clear on your letter as to what type of amendments we would hope to see, so that we can then be supportive of the bill. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. If Chris wants to make a comment or something before I like try to get that motion going, just in case there's something.
Would we be open to including language, oppose unless amended, and include a pathway for renewable natural gas powered trucks for those binational Mexican companies that don't have access to EV charging or hydrogen stations in Mexico?
So I think right now we have a motion on the floor that essentially is just general language, like oppose unless amended. And then what I'm hearing you say, Chris, is maybe a subsequent motion, like to further refine that, the first motion. Is that right, Domingo, in terms of procedure?
Correct. So it's the alternate motion would be voted on first, and then we go to Alejandro's original motion.
Mm-hmm.
But we would have to vote on both.
Yeah. So the first motion that will be, and we actually, I think before we have actually the ability to move on any of those motions, we'll need a second for the motion that Alejandro to move forward the letter with the statement oppose unless amended. So if we can get a second there.
So I second Alejandro's motion.
Okay. And then the subsequent motion is Chris's motion, is to have more specificity, language in there about a pathway that includes renewable fuels as an option. Is there a second? I'm sorry,
No,
do you want to?
I'm sorry, not renewable fuels, because that's a slippery slope. Because you have
Okay.
renewable diesel, which is not clean at all.
Okay.
It's renewable natural gas specifically that comes from wastewater treatment plants, dairy farms,
Okay.
landfills, and that's methane that's being captured and converted into a less harmful form.
Thank you for that clarification, Chris. Do we have a second to Chris's motion? Okay, so that leads me to believe is that we could only vote on that first motion, the Alejandro. But I think this conversation is an important conversation to continue to have in the CSC subcommittees as we're talking about heavy duty trucks. So that's not to say that, Chris, what you shared in terms of an idea and having that pathway isn't something that couldn't be included in the SERP or even be included in future conversations about, AB 1372. But for the purposes of today, where this group is just to have a broader statement, oppose unless amended. And I think that kind of more nuanced conversation is something we definitely want to have as a group as well. Okay, Alejandro.
Yeah, I think the whole conversation is really important to have, but I don't know if for this letter of support that has to be sent sooner rather than later, just because it will be getting so much more into the details. I think it'd probably like a follow-up for another meeting.
Yeah, but I think that's a really important conversation to have so that there could be some agreement, and maybe it may be worth because folks maybe aren't all familiar, right? Even myself included, in terms of, like you said, you were very specific, like, no, you don't want to open that up. But even having that level of conversation in the subcommittee groups could also be helpful as well. So I appreciate that, Chris. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a roll call vote. And you can say yes to Alejandro's motion, to support the letter of opposition with language unless amended, right? You could say yes to that. You could say no, we don't want to submit a letter, or you could abstain if you're a public agency, or if you prefer to abstain at this particular point. So I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call. So yes is in favor of the motion that Alejandro brought up. And so yes, no, or abstain. Manuela?
Estoy a favor de la moción de Alejandro.
Okay.
Gracias.
Olga? Olga? Okay. Wendy? Wendy?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, did you call me?
Yes, Wendy, I was just calling to see if you're in favor of Alejandro's motion.
Pues sí, sí estoy a favor.
Okay. Rudy? Rudy?
I think Rudy's not here. I think he shared his link with
Ah,
Wendy.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, not a problem. Mariano?
Yes.
Sí, estoy a favor de la moción de Alejandro.
Okay. Alejandro, you get to vote as well.
Yes.
Stan?
I'll abstain.
Okay. Leslie?
Yes, in favor.
Jenny? I don't think she's on this. Diane? Okay, Shelby? Okay. Irma?
Yes, for Alejandro motion.
Okay. Chris?
Yes.
Okay. Yanet? Maria?
Estoy a favor de la moción de Alejandro.
Okay, qué bueno. Let's see. Marisela?
Yes, I agree with Alejandro.
Okay. David?
Abstain.
Trinidad? Trinidad? Okay. Lee?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay. Elsa?
Yes.
Okay. Maritza? Okay. Zach?
Abstain.
And Mariela?
Abstain.
All right. Great. So everyone who did not abstain voted yes, so the motion carries. And so what we'll do is we'll, if Alejandro, if you can just add the language, you know, oppose unless amended, then we can update that letter, send that out to folks, and then get it submitted to the legislative record. But also with the record of like indicating like also folks who abstained. So there's clarity in terms of record keeping and all. All right. Is that the first time that the CSC's voted on something?
Other than
Yes.
accepting the guidelines, yeah.
Oh, the guidelines? But
Yeah.
this is a big
This is
deal.
the first
so-
real vote.
Yeah, the first real vote. No, this is great. This is great because y'all did a great job with it. And but it also highlighted some things that we need to have further discussion about, right? And so not to close the chapter on what Chris was sharing, but it's really like, hey, we need to have a deeper discussion and a deeper understanding of what that means and looks like as well. So I know that took a little bit more time than maybe we anticipated on our agenda, but that's okay. I think it was important to engage in that conversation. So thank you so much, Alejandro, for bringing that to our attention. And also, you know, keeping this group informed about issues that are certainly going to impact the community one way or another. So thank you for that. I want to transition us to the discussion item regarding the statewide SERP strategies. Liliana had sent a video sharing statewide SERP strategies or SERP strategies statewide. It was a request of this group to get some examples of what other AB 617 communities are doing throughout the state, some of their strategies that may be applicable to your experiences at the border as well. So she put together a really good set of videos in English and Spanish, also shared some information on that as well in a couple of documents. The documents, I believe, were sent along with the letter as well. But I just wanted to check in and see if folks had any questions or comments that they'd like to share in response to Liliana's presentation. And I know we have a couple of people from CARB here as well, who so I think Andrea's here, and then we also have, I think, Juan Ramon as well, that can help support in answering any questions. But do folks have any questions on that particular video or that presentation? And we're actually going to be engaging with some of that material today during the breakout groups. And so so it's not like we have that presentation and then it's put away. We're actually going to be engaging with that material today, so which is good. Yeah, Lee.
Yeah, I do have a question about the presentation. Liliana talked a little bit about the regulation of warehouse facilities by South Coast AQMD. So I wonder if anyone from CARB can talk more about this project and how the regulation helps reduce the air pollution.
Yeah, most definitely. And I believe we had a presentation on that last time that we met as well. And so I can send you also the link to that presentation, because actually San Diego APCD is going to be the regulating entity on that if that rule moves forward. And so it's called indirect source rule in terms of warehouses. And there's that rule hasn't been developed right now. It's just in the research phase right now. And so it's something that will be happening in-house at SDAPCD. But if it's okay, Lee, I can send you that video, and then if there's any other questions, I could connect you to the folks on our team with rulemaking.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, I could do that. Any other questions or comments on the video from Liliana? Well, if you didn't have a chance to watch that video, I encourage you to do it. It's really, really informative. But like I said, we'll be engaging with that material today as well. I want to transition us to discuss the video from SANDAG and Caltrans, which I really want to give both Liliana and also Zach, who was kind of leading it on the SANDAG Caltrans side of things, a round of applause, because they really put a lot of thought and intention into the production of these videos, which are honestly are really informative, even beyond this particular group, are just kind of like great videos with information to share even with the general community as well. And so for that, with Zach's team, I just want to see if folks had any questions on it and as well. But Zach, I'm not sure if you want to maybe just provide like a couple sentences just to kind of summarize the main points of the video, and then if folks have any questions, we could definitely open it up to questions here.
Sure. I guess a quick brief summary of what the video captures is maybe 20 minutes of content that really are trying to tackle 3 key questions. And we broke it out kind of like in the sequence where we first try to answer, like, what do we know as regional agencies who, compile a lot of data, develop a lot of research around the border dynamic through data, trying to learn more about how many people cross, how many vehicles are crossing, what are the associated emissions. The second key question that we're trying to answer via the video is, what are regional agencies doing about it? And by that, we kind of mean, what are the planning efforts that are being pursued, the research, the policies, the different strategies that are being pursued by Caltrans and SANDAG and our partners to improve cross-border mobility. And then the third piece of the presentation, kind of turning the lens back on this group and the steering committee members to kind of tee up a conversation about, having heard, about the different projects and efforts that are being pursued to improve border transportation. How does it all relate to what we're trying to do as a steering committee in terms of developing strategies for our SERP and for reducing emissions? So I guess that's kind of like a quick summary of what the presentation entails.
Thank you so much, Zach. And I'm also going to put it, again, it is up on our website for folks to watch. Also putting it here in the chat box as well, if folks didn't have a chance to watch it. I just want to see if folks have any questions on the video itself. Also, Zach provided and his team provided really good set of background documents as well that they actually reference in the video itself. And so I put that online as well, but I'm going to put that in the chat box as well. If you're interested in kind of taking a look at that, we're certainly at APCD, we're going to be looking at these documents as well to see if there's any opportunities to potentially, bring that back to the committee here, see if there's any opportunities for this particular group to more intentionally maybe support maybe some of the efforts or some of the recommendations that are part of those kind of planning documents as well. But just want to open it up. I know Jose's here, Mariela's here, and Zach's here from San Diego and Caltrans, and see if folks have any questions specifically on what was shared in the video, or if there's other items in particular that folks would like to see highlighted. And again, this is not going to be the only time we're engaging with this material, because what I hope to do in this next month is actually dig through the list of documents that Zach sent over, which I just put in the chat box, and potentially pull out some things that are corresponding with some things that I'm hearing from the committee here that might be opportunities to support some of the actions that SANDAG and Caltrans are moving forward, and see where there's that synergy as well. So it's definitely not the only time we're going to engage with that material as well. But I appreciate both Liliana and Zach leading their teams to develop this. And I know that Jose put a lot of work in it. Mariela and also Diane as well put a lot of work in this as well. One of the things that actually a CSC member suggested to me, and I wanted to bring this to this group, is to ask if for future presentations, we could still do them pre-recorded, but if folks wanted to, and this would be completely optional, but what we could do as well is we could then maybe do like a pre-screening in a way, maybe like at 4 o'clock, we could just start playing the videos so that if folks wanted to drop in right before the meeting, let's say they didn't have time to watch the videos before, we can have our Zoom room open at 4 o'clock for folks who wanted to use that time to kind of designated time to kind of watch the videos as well, so that they're watching that right before we come into the meeting space as well. But would folks be open or interested in that? And that's something we could certainly offer if folks are interested. I see one thumbs up. Maybe others are shy. Okay, a couple. Yeah, and a hand up or two. Jose, did you have a question or just supporting the idea?
Just a comment and supporting what Zach just mentioned. We'll encourage all the members of the stakeholder committee to review the documents that we provided. We have a lot of really good reports, plans, feasibility studies that look at the different projects at the border, and also provide a vision for the border. Both agencies, both Caltrans and SANDAG, have been looking to improve not just cross-border mobility, but also to address community impacts and equality impacts, economic impacts due to border delays. So there's a number of recommendations, projects, strategies that have been identified through these reports and plans that you can take a look at it and analyze and see which of these strategies can also help support the serve for the international border community. And if you have any questions or comments on a particular strategy or project or recommendation, we'll be happy to come back and talk to either one of the subcommittees or the committee as a whole.
Thanks so much, Jose. And we want to definitely provide some time to further explore what are maybe some potential recommendations and get this group's feedback in terms of which ones that they'd like to explicitly support as part of the SERP itself.
Yeah, especially because a lot of these recommendations have been identified in a lot of these binational plans or studies. They already have we already have the consent from Mexican agencies. So that's a lot of these documents and plans have been actually developed with Mexican agencies from all levels of government, federal, local, and state. So they pretty much, we've been developing a lot of these strategies with them. So that's good. That is a good thing to know.
That is actually a really, really great point that you brought up, because I think even indicating in the SERP itself what strategies already have agreement and which ones need to work towards agreement is going to be something that's going to be particularly unique, right, to this SERP, given kind of its binational relationship as well. So I really appreciate you lifting that up. I see David's hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to Zach and to Jose. That's a lot of work to put this together. But I wanted to ask, so is somebody going to be able to extract and compile a list of those recommendations that already have this advanced vetting? Because I think that is really powerful. If we already have strategies that are recognized on both sides of the border, that are integrated, it would be awesome to have a document that then the committee can say, you know what, we really like these 3 that touch on, infrastructure corridor along, the 905, or we really like the way that these strategies are touching on what Baja California can do. I think that would be really awesome and helpful.
Yeah, that's something that we certainly are committed to doing. And I'd love to work in partnership with both Zach and Jose's team in terms of coming up with that list. It's a matter of just kind of going through these documents. In the same way that CARB helped, we're going to do this today, where they came up with a list of other SERP strategies throughout the state, that in the activity today, the committee is going to go through that and kind of select, right, a menu of options. And so I'd love to do the same thing with these planning documents from both Standag and Caltrans as well. Jose and Zach, what do you think?
Sure. Yeah, we'll be happy to help to work with you.
Awesome. Thank you both. Yeah, thanks for that recommendation, David. Cool. Any other questions or comments on this particular presentation? Again, it was a really great presentation, and I know I personally learned a lot from it, so I really, really appreciate it. Chris and your little visitor.
Yes. I found someone to second my motion. Here we go.
I love it.
No, I thought it was a fantastic presentation. I love the bits about having scheduled crossings, a loading zone for zero emission vehicles. I thought it was quite fantastic.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Chris. All right. Cool. Well, thank you to CARB, Liliana, and I know her team worked very hard on the video, and then also to Zach and Jose and their teams. Both videos were just so well thought out, and I think will be ongoing resources, not only for this committee, but just even for the border community at large as well. And I'm actually going to go back and rewatch it, because there's things in there that I was like, oh, these are some great ideas I'd love to share, highlight for you all as well. So as potential opportunities to further explore as well. So thank you all. And thanks for being here this evening, ready to answer questions and get feedback as well. Cool. So with that, are folks ready to transition to the next part? We're a little bit behind on the schedule, but I think we'll be fine in terms of doing kind of the meat of today. Folks good to move on? All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Let's see here. Just want to make sure I make this a little bit larger to see. Okay, Can everyone see my screen okay? It should look like a spreadsheet. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do today, and we'll do this in breakout groups, but we'll do this together first as a group, and then we'll have breakout groups afterwards. So what we're going to do today is a couple months ago, or was it last month or the month before, Domingo presented SERP strategies that Portside is doing that may apply based upon the priorities you all mentioned that may apply here at the International Border Community. So if you see the tab below right here, it says Portside SERP strategies. And there's a checkbox here that your subcommittee could check if you want to explore applying that to the International Border SERP. Now, again, these are very specific to the location, so we would need to kind of change and have more nuanced language and place-based language that's relevant to the border community. But if you are inspired by that particular particular strategy, your group can then click on that itself. Now, in the first tab, this is the priorities that you all listed. For example, this is heavy-duty trucks. So you were concerned about idling trucks, concerned about operations at the warehouses, and then concerned about impacts of heavy-duty trucks near current housing development and future housing development as well. Some of the ideas that this group has already come up with as potential ideas to explore as part of the SERP is one, exploring what an indirect source rule might be. And then the second thing was exploring maybe, having some kind of requirement, even exploring the possibility of it, I would say, where cross-border trucks that drop off goods within a 10-mile radius, could they, how would we have a pathway for them to transition to electric trucks if possible? So those are strategies that are already developed. So you all are going to be primarily looking at the Portside strategies that Domingo presented on, and then this is where Liliana's presentation comes in. These are the strategies that Liliana was talking about in her presentation. And this is specifically with heavy duty trucks. And these strategies here are strategies from other communities in the state of California that went through a similar SERP development process itself. So she looked at strategies that may could potentially be considered based upon the priorities that you all mentioned. So here's some strategies here. So your group will be looking at particularly these two sheets here and checking off the strategies that you'd like to explore to move forward in some way. Again, we would have to kind of finesse the language and be more nuanced and place-based about the language, but here's some inspiration for us all to consider. If you're like, you know what, I think that would be a good strategy for us to move forward. Go ahead and click on that link. Now, if your group went through those two sheets of strategies and clicked on all the things, but you're like, you know what, it's missing XYZ strategy, you can add to this table here where it's IBCSC ideas. You can add to this table here, add more strategies to explore as well as a group. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually walk us through this activity together for one of the high priority issues, and then I'll have folks break out into the breakout rooms. But before I do it, Chris, I still see your hand up. Do you have a question or comment?
Sorry, no, I apologize.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so there are 5 major strategies that have been identified, or 5 major areas that have been identified. One is around community care, so areas like schools, healthcare centers, even homes or senior centers, parks. These are kind of sensitive areas, right? In terms of, for kids, their lungs are still developing. Maybe for older people, they may be immunocompromised and be more sensitive to air pollutants and so forth. And so how do we have community care? So this doesn't have necessarily anything specifically here. There haven't necessarily been specific ideas here that have been shared, but there are a number of Portside strategies that could maybe be applied in the border community. And there are a number of strategies statewide as well that could potentially be applied. So I'm going to do this quickly so that you all have time to break out and work on the other categories as well. So, so one of the first strategies from the port side is they really wanted to develop a plan to quantify and prioritize community health risks from air pollutants. So they wanted a deeper study to better understand what are the health risks associated specifically with the air pollutants that those community members are facing. So doing some kind of health risk assessment there. And the way we could do this too is, and again, this is not set in stone. People can revisit this in later conversations as well. But if this is a strategy that you'd be interested in maybe like moving forward, we can maybe give a thumbs up or put an emoji or write in the chat box. This is maybe a strategy that folks might be interested in moving forward. So again, this is really developing a plan to really quantify, right? Using scientific data, right? And I'm seeing some yeses in the chat box here. Scientific data, right? Like to better understand the health risks there. Okay, cool. And I apologize, I'm going to go through these quickly again, but we can revisit these, but I'm just using this as an example of what you will be discussing. So here's an idea that they have is what's known at the port is the PAIR program. So implement a residential air filtration and air monitoring program for up to 1,000 residents at portside. Again, we can have more place-based and nuanced language for the community, but to reduce indoor air pollution exposure is have an air filtration system where we, maybe we give air filters and air quality monitors to community members, especially those sensitive receptor or sensitive folks, like maybe folks who have asthma and all of that. So I'm seeing a few thumbs up. Again, we can always change this. So evaluate the current air quality complaint process. So this has already been done. So this would, if you folks want to move forward, this would be modified to maybe do more outreach to community members so that they know how to call APCD and what to call APCD about if there's an air quality issue in the area. So it's really like an outreach and education program to let people know, hey, APCD exists. Here are the things you can call us about so that we can ensure that we're sending out our compliance officers to check on those things. So I'm seeing some yeses to outreach and education. Okay. This one's similar to increase APCD presence in portside, or in this case would be right, the border community. So it's like being more intentional about maybe our response times, maybe increasing the amount of times that we're checking on the stationary sources, that have permits with the air district. So just increasing our overall presence through our different divisions as well, whether it be compliance, whether it be monitoring, whether it be also outreach as well as a strategy. Or if that's not needed, that's good as well. Okay, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Again, we can modify this, and I'm going through this really quickly. This one here is really general, but it says support land uses that serve the portside community. Again, we might want to change the specifics on that, but one of the things, making sure that there's compatible land uses. So that might be thinking about where development's going, right? Housing development's going. Is it going in areas where it's high industry? So really looking at land use decisions in San Isidro, Otay Mesa, and making sure that there's compatibility with that. That's kind of the overall thing here. Is that a strategy folks like to explore? I think I saw a yes from Chris, some thumbs up. Okay. All right, I'm just going to go through these last few. One of the things they had here is reduce exposure for sensitive receptors when within 500 feet of port, freeways, and industries. So they talk about creating buffer zones, right? and green spaces, right? So I'm thinking about the elementary school right up against the freeway. Is there an opportunity to work with Caltrans to create those buffer zones, right? With some of like the more sensitive areas. I saw some applause. I saw Leslie's yes. Urban greening, is there an opportunity, or folks want to explore the opportunity to strategically, plant trees in certain areas, and then where would those areas be as well? So I'm seeing some thumbs up. There's specific strategies around public school exposure reduction. Again, this would include like air filtration systems in schools, particularly those schools that are near, right, the high pollution areas. It could also include, having zero emission buses or vehicle fleets, right, for the schools as well, in that infrastructure. So I'm seeing some hearts, some thumbs up. And then the last one here is support emission reduction. Let me see what it says here. Opportunities. So this could include, it's a little bit more complex here. So I think this one's particularly is something I've heard from folks, but support new policies for requiring all new housing and other sensitive receptors like daycares, healthcare facilities, to install buffer and indoor air quality filtration systems could be part of this kind of how do we support emission reduction opportunities. Again, this can be nuanced and catered to what this community has said, what they want. Is that something that folks are interested in? Yeah, okay, cool. Again, this is just to receive some inspiration. And what we hope to do with our team at APCD is to work with those in rulemaking and compliance, and the other divisions as well, to kind of craft more place-based nuanced language that we want to share back with you all, for you all to further shape it and massage it and make sure that it's reflective of addressing the needs that you've all have shared as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in the chat box. We're at 6:05. So we'll have about 15-20 minutes for the first group. And this is what we're going to do. Let me see. Got my sticky notes here. One second. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second so I'm able to see on my screen. All right, so I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and you're going to see in the breakout room, you're going to see 4 different rooms. But I want folks to self-select for group 1, and you're going to see 1 in parentheses. And actually, let me see if I can put this up on the screen to share. Here we go. Can you all see my screen okay? So this is what I'm looking at for the breakout room. So it says breakout room 1. And so there's 2. So we're going to do 2 rounds of this. The first round is going to include a breakout room for other mobile sources and a breakout room for passenger vehicles. So for the first round, which is going to be about 15-20 minutes, you're going to choose either other mobile sources or passenger vehicle. Then I'm going to bring everyone back into this main room. And then we're going to do a round 2. In round 2, you get to choose cross-border issues or you get to choose heavy-duty vehicles, okay? So you're going to be able to be in 2 subcommittees today to engage in that conversation, okay? And so what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to put this in the chat box. Let me stop sharing for just a second. And this here is your guide. This is going to take you to the sheet that you'll be exploring with your group, okay? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and open up all rooms and choose which room you want to be in for segment 1, okay? For segment 1. You'll have 15 minutes there. We'll come back. Then the group will get to choose, and you all will get to choose what group you want to be in for segment 2. If I see that there is a group Yeah, if I see that there is a group that has a lot of people and the other group doesn't have that many people, I may reassign some folks. If you're very, very adamant, you're like, no, I really want to be in part of this group, then you could be there, but I might be moving some folks just so that there could be more dynamic conversations. Also, we have 2 interpreters online. Vicky will be going to room 1. So Vicky, when I open up the rooms, you could self-select to go into room 1, and then Gloria will be going to room 2, or I can also assign as well. All right, so I'm going to open up all the groups. And so folks can start self-selecting which group that they want to go into. Do you see that option?
No, I don't see nothing.
Okay, Irma, I'll put you in a room.
Okay.
Hi, Monique. Me
What?
either. I don't see nothing.
I don't see it either, Monique.
You don't see it? Okay.
Oh,
It
I
appears on the
have a
bottom
one.
right.
I have one.
Okay.
It's not numbered. Just an invitation to juniors. Messenger.
But yeah, but where is in the chat or where?
Yeah.
Oh,
no-
okay, I get it. People
Oh,
have
okay,
to
in the
click on breakout rooms and then
Yeah. If you, I'm sorry. If you want to click out breakout rooms, but also I can assign people as well. My apologies. This is our first time doing this, and so we'll just kind of learn as we go as well.
we're all learning together.
Yes.
So yeah, the icon at the bottom of your screen should have like a window with 4 squares that says breakout rooms. If you click there, then you can choose, then you'll have the options to join the different groups.
Exactly. And I might assign people as well. Still assigning a few folks.
Started telling us, Kathleen, that they were very concerned about that area, that general position there. They were having 20-foot swells and even bigger. So potentially the weather.
I'm just now randomly assigning now. All right, Domingo, you can pop in and out of rooms as you'd like as well. Cool. I think everyone's been assigned, and so if you see on your screen to join a breakout room, go ahead and press that button to join a breakout room. If you are in a breakout room, actually I'm going to broadcast my voice. Hi, everyone. Sorry to interrupt. This is Monique. If you're in a breakout room that you'd rather be in the other breakout room, feel free to let me know in the main room. That's okay. You can let me know, and I can also reassign folks as well. Sorry for the interruption. Hi, Peter. Is it your preference to be in a different breakout group?
Oh no, because I'm a member of the public, so I'm not sure if I should be in a breakout room or.
You most definitely can. Absolutely. Do you have a preference?
Yeah, no preference at all. Whichever one you think would be good to join.
Okay, let me see what we've got here. I need to find you first here. Let's see. I'm wondering, Peter, are you able to go back into the room that you came out of?
I believe I can.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and give that a try? 'Cause I'm struggling finding you on this list.
Okay, I believe it's the passenger vehicles one.
Okay.
Okay, I'll join that one.
Hey, David. Which breakout room did you want to be in? Hey, David, which breakout room did you want to be in? The other mobile sources or the passenger vehicles?
I was in the other mobile sources.
Do you prefer to be in passenger vehicles or other mobile sources?
Other mobile sources, I was in that one.
Okay, let me
Thanks.
do that. Right. Hey, all, are you finished?
We thought that your message said that we were all coming back to the.
Oh, no, I said at 6:50. At
Oh,
6:50.
sorry, I missed that.
You have another 5 minutes if you want to hop back in your room. My first message was like at 6:50, I'll bring everybody back in. But when you come back in, be ready to share maybe a strategy you're most excited about and one strategy you think is going to be most challenging. So if you'd like to, if it's easier, you could stay in here and discuss.
Some people stayed inside, so I might be out. Are they
Do
joining?
you want to go back in? It's up to
At
you.
this point, I don't know.
Go ahead and go back in if you're able to. And you have another 5 minutes. That's a lot of time for this discussion. So if you're finished with the chart, you can discuss maybe the most excited one and then maybe the one you think is going to be the most challenging.
Alrighty.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone. We'll give folks about 30 seconds or so to come back in.
I came back. I'm here.
Hi, Idma.
And while we wait, I just wanted to apologize because I have to leave, but it was great being here with everybody, and I look forward to continuing our discussions. Thank you, everybody. Good night. I'll leave you with Monique in excellent hands.
Bye, Domingo.
Bye, gracias.
Bye.
All right, I think there's a few more people coming back in a few seconds. All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome
Thank you.
back. Yeah, how was that activity for folks? Were folks able to like generate a lot of ideas, see some other ideas, to get some inspiration as well? Awesome, awesome. I want to hear from a couple folks from the other mobile sources group. Maybe hear maybe what's one thing that a strategy folks are most excited about, and also maybe a strategy that folks anticipate that may be a challenge, right, to implement. Who in the other mobile sources group would like to share?
Don't be shy, my team. Jump in.
I thought you were gonna go, Kathy. You're a team
Oh,
leader.
I don't want to. I was just taking notes. I'm not leading anything. Chris, talk about the trains.
Okay. So I like choo-choo train. No, I'm just kidding. So I was most excited about the trains because I felt that was the area where we could see tangible change. So, you know, purchasing new trains with ideally hydrogen engines with renewable energies. I know that there is technology out there that can meet the use case for freight trains, and it's a zero emission. But at the very least, by, you know, cleaner engines, maybe run with you know, just under normal diesel engine standards, exhaust fluid, and just make it cleaner in general. The most challenging idea that we touched upon was maybe making changes to the ATVs, the Border Patrol ATVs, just because it touches on, you know, federal stuff, and maybe it's a little bit more difficult to make changes there. And yeah, that's what I took away.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Chris. Anyone else in that group want to share maybe some different, if there's other items that you were excited about or maybe find most challenging?
I think David also touched at the end, but he got cut off by the return to the main room.
By Monique.
Sorry.
But it was touching on the international airport in Tijuana just because of jurisdiction as well. So it seems like the biggest challenge is probably jurisdiction in both cases.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's go to the passenger vehicles group. Love to hear from that group. What's one thing folks are most excited about, but also maybe something that folks might find most challenging as well in terms of an implementation strategy.
Hey Monique, this is David. I was in that group and we had a pretty good discussion on that. We really loved all your ideas. So I don't think we declined to look at any further of them. I think we want to look at all of them a little bit more in depth. You know, one of the things that we really kind of talked about was trying to address the wait times and what's the best way to do that. Is it incentivizing, you know, carpooling, the challenges associated with carpooling. You know, we heard a story about how it's potentially dangerous if you're carpooling with someone you don't know.
Right.
So that's something that, you know, how do we address that but yet encourage it. Also supporting and incentivizing other modes of transportation besides vehicles across the border.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing that summary, David. Anyone else in that group in terms of something exciting? Yeah, Leslie.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to like try to shift towards public transportation and better public transportation to remove that personal vehicle use. But I feel like it's also one of the biggest challenges because a lot of these people live in TJ because of housing accessibility and like the cost of living in San Diego, making it really hard for one to choose public transportation when they have to take kids to school and then go to work. So there's like pros and cons to both of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anyone else in that group want to share? All right, so what this means is the next time we get together, you'll be able to engage in a similar activity, but specifically looking at heavy duty vehicles, and then also looking at cross-border issues as well. So we'll have a similar activity. The next time we meet, though, we'll be in person, which is exciting. And then hopefully I'm going to start working with both Zach and Jose, and hopefully start to develop at least some kind of preliminary list from those planning documents that they shared in their pre-recorded presentation, that you all can then start looking at too as potential things to have this CSC, right, integrate into the SERP as something that this committee, this body is supporting as well moving forward. So hopefully there will be actually an opportunity for more things to kind of be inspired from, but also more things to take into consideration as a potential strategy as well. So based upon David's recommendation. So as I mentioned, next meeting is going to be in person. We're still looking for a location. I might be asking Casa again, do they have an available spot, or we'll be looking at another location as well. As soon as we confirm the location, we'll send that out to you all. But
We can
before-
only, sorry for
Yeah.
interrupting, Monique, but we can
Yeah.
always use TruckNet. I feel like we have plenty of space and a
good
second
to
floor
know.
that we can close off.
Awesome,
And
I
I'm going to
appreciate that.
mention also the library, the San Isidro Library. We can always ask them, and they have a big room also, or well, they have a big room.
Awesome. So we know we have a few different options I could definitely explore. So thank you for all those suggestions and also invitations as well. Before we conclude, I just want to also open it up for public comment and just see if anyone has any announcements, updates, anything that they'd like to share that hasn't been already covered on the agenda. Any public comments? David?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much. So just a couple of announcements. Next week on the 27th, CARB is going to be having the hearing on the Advanced Clean Fleets rule, as we know. And so just wanted to let you know that Supervisor Vargas continues to uplift the needs of the border. And we are continuing to work with the APCD and with the CARB team on making sure that this border also has what it needs to transition.
Thanks,
Thank you.
David. And if you have any information on that, I'd be happy to pass it along to the members here as well. We're going to go to Peter, Alejandro, and then Chris.
Yeah, hi everyone. Also, thank you to Monique and the Air District for helping us with our study. But yeah, my name is Peter Nguyen. I'm a grad student at UC Davis and a research assistant for Professor Jonathan London, conducting a AB 617 implementation study throughout the state. And I'm sure you already saw the email from Monique about our survey that we're conducting across the 19 sites. And so we just wanted to hear from folks, especially all the stakeholders involved in AB 617. So really want to hear your feedback on how AB 617 is going and areas for improvement, and just your thoughts on how the process could be improved. And yeah, there's also a raffle for residents to win one of 5 prizes, but the deadline is May 12th. And I'll also post the link and contact information in the chat. And if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know or Professor Jonathan London. I believe their contact was also sent out in the email. But yeah, thank you so much, and really just appreciate any feedback that you can give us. So thank you.
Thanks, Peter. All right, Alejandro.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to invite everybody to our 50th anniversary for Casa Familiar. We're going to be having our annual 5K, but also we have a competitive 10K this year. It's going to be May 6th at 6:30 in the morning. It's going to be pretty early. The check-in starts at 6:30 in the morning. Thank you, APCD, for sponsoring. They are one of our sponsors as well. But yeah, come through. It's going to be fun. And I think Leslie might be able to put the link in the chat because my laptop died. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Alejandro. I'm planning on being in the uncompetitive 5K and may not be able to do the whole thing if my 4-year-old doesn't let me. So I'm planning to be there. Yeah, come out. They're gonna have burritos and a beer garden and other things as well. So should be fun. Christopher.
I'll attend for the beer garden. So I just want to let everyone know that on April 7th, TruckNet had a zero emission ride and drive in conjunction with SDG&E and the Harbor Trucking Association, where transportation companies in Otay and Tijuana visited to try out zero emission Class 8 trucks for the first time. They rode a Volvo Class 8 truck, Peterbilt, a Class 8 truck, a BYD electric Class 8 truck. So just wanted to let everyone know that, you know, big changes are happening in our community, and that we are, in fact, we do have the honor as being a vibrant binational community having the first Class 8 retail chargers. So it's really good for us as a community. Big win.
Awesome. Thanks, Christopher. Let's go to Brenda.
Hi, sorry, my video. Well, I put it on the chat, but I'm with Climate Action Campaign, and we will be hosting a policy advocacy workshop, which will be led by Escondido's council member Consuelo Martinez. And the purpose of the workshop is to teach people how to give effective public comment and just prepare for, you know, whenever they set meetings with local policymakers. So if you're interested, I just dropped the flyer with the registration link. It'll be online. And another announcement is that we are currently working with the County of San Diego. We're collecting feedback for the decarbonization framework, RDF. And I have a short survey to share with people, specifically focusing on climate and health impacts for District 1 residents. So I'll drop it in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brenda. I think that's all the comments for this evening, and I apologize for a couple minutes over, but I'm really proud of everyone in this group. We did a lot today, a lot. We had a really great conversation to start off in terms of the action item. The committee took its first really big vote today. I think we got a lot done in terms of, and much in part because of the suggestion you all had to pre-record those presentations. And then really appreciate both CARB, SANDAG, and Caltrans doing all that work in advance so that we have the time and space to engage in SERP strategy conversation today. So really, really appreciate all that everyone's done to make this day successful. Of course, we never get through everything we had intended, but we're going to continue this conversation and continue the development of these strategies when we meet in person. And so, and then hopefully we'll have actually even more strategies to take into consideration after we look at those planning documents that Zach mentioned as well. So, and Jose mentioned as well. So I just want to send my appreciation to you all, and thank you all for another great meeting, and looking forward to seeing you all in person next time. All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you, Monique. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bye.
Hola, Monique. Soy Maritza.
Oh, Maritza. Hey.
Me quería disculpar porque entré poco tarde. Es que se junta con otra reunión que tengo. Soy parte del Women's Club y tenemos nuestra junta de ejecutiva ahora también para programar la junta, la general.
Oh, okay.
Y
¿Cada
por
mes?
eso es que sí, cada mes, así que también, pero en cuanto me desocupo y el mes que entra, igual en cuanto me desocupe, pues ya